What's up, y'all? Welcome back to an episode of Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with me, Chris Kane. And we're going to start with Tyreek because why not? There's always Tyreek news. But this is actually good news for Dolphins fans because for once, Tyreek's not doing anything reckless. An NFL insider, Tom Pelissaro, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. I know who he is. I just, a lot of S's and R's and whatever. Anywho, reported that the Dolphins have no intention of trading Tyreek before next year. Right? We've done a lot of shows talking about possibly going to the Patriots, Buffalo, Washington because they have cap space. It will free up money for the team. I don't know if this is all because of the cap going up for next year, and I'm looking at my cap glasses like, do I need to put them on? Or if it's just the team thinks we have a chance to win next year, and so trading Tyreek as your best offensive talent wouldn't make sense. He said all the right things recently. I think everybody seems to kind of rally around the idea that this team hasn't really been whole in 2 years. But if you really think about it, the two playoff runs they had, Tua got hurt at the end of the first playoff run, and we had to have Skylar play Buffalo at Buffalo in the playoffs. Great game. Miami had the lead and then just squandered it late. Couldn't stop Josh. Story was always time, right? The second time, Tua was healthy, but we had to go to the Chiefs after just a disastrous December, and we know how that ended. Very injured on defense as well. So we had injuries on defense, cold weather, lost a division lead, all that stuff. Last year, tons of injuries. So the idea is that we haven't seen the whole Dolphins team play a full season and then see where it can go. And so before you mortgage Tyreek off and maybe get a couple mid-round picks, maybe a 2 and a 4 or something like that, let's just play the year out. Let's just see what we can do. Because the team is good enough to be in that 9, 10, 11 win range, right? Which is basically a playoff team, barring, some crazy tiebreaker kind of stuff. So we're basically a playoff team. And the Chiefs are the top dog, except for tonight, because I just watched the Super Bowl, and we'll get into that later on. Um, the Chiefs definitely take a ding after losing because they seemed like they were just unbeatable force, unstoppable force in nature, whatever. And then Philadelphia showed that defense, a lot of it can get you over the top. Like the pass rush on that side was big. We got Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, and Chop all like floating around the D line for next year. Don't know if there'll be restructures or people will be let go, but the idea is that let's say this hypothetical scenario. We get all three of those guys back. Bradley Chubb should be fully healthy because he was a year and a half removed from a surgery. So he should be fully ready to go. Jalen, knock on wood, we pray he stays right. Chop was solid the second half of the year. Not hurt. He should get stronger, probably a little bit bigger in the offseason. If those are our three main pass rushers, right? The offense, healthier. We'll figure out the O-line, but let's assume the O-line 10% better for next year. Just 10% better. Tua, when he played in games, was good. So Tua stays good. Jalen was hurt. Tyreek also full offseason to recover from his last surgery. Like, you can see how the Dolphins can go from an 8-9 win team to an 11-12 win team. And then just first round, can we not draw Buffalo? Can we do the 4-5 matchup, maybe play Houston on the road, and then second round, okay, at Arrowhead, second round. If you lost that game, you don't feel like, oh, the season's a failure. You feel like we lost to a team that's been to 5 Super Bowls in 6 years. That's not the worst feeling in the world, but it's really just about being healthy and letting your players actually play their game. This year, injuries, Tyreek. I mean, the season started with Tyreek being kind of arrested, but not really. Detained, but like it got out. And then he said, "Hey man, I had surgery," and we were like, "When'd you do that?" But just when? Ah man, my knee hurt. I got surgery. It's like we didn't know anything about any of this. We shouldn't be finding out on a surveillance cell phone cop video. That's not how you're supposed to find that kind of information out, right? So I like the fact that they're not letting him go right now. This could still be posturing. They could just be trying to drive the cost up. I believe they're not going to trade him because I think they believe that the gap between the upper echelon of Miami is this and not that. And time will tell. We don't know. But I'm happy Tarek's staying. We can stop with some of those dramatic things. Although there's some Debo news out there that we won't get to this episode, but it will come up soon. So we'll talk about that. So I reported this, I believe, 2 or 3 episodes ago that Kellen Moore was in line for the job with the Saints, which is why the Saints weren't actually finalizing their hiring process. And then over the weekend, it came out, oh yeah, Kellen Moore is going to be the coach. Now again, I don't know how he did interviews because he's not supposed to be doing interviews, but he had a job offer. But if you didn't interview how you got a job offer, it feels a little fishy, feels a little insidery to me. But it's cool. They got their person. And the Philly just won the Super Bowl. They scored 33 on offense because Cooper got the pick six. 33 on offense against the Chiefs defense. I think that's hey, I don't work here no more. It's not going to get better than this, dog. We just beat up arguably the most clutch defense in the league. Just walked the ball up and down the field against them. I think I earned a job. And I think he did too. I think I never was a big Kellen Moore guy, but he definitely, I think he earned this job. And again, I think the Saints' job is terrible. But good for him for getting a job. What this means for the Dolphins, though, is that we keep Anthony Weaver on the squad. And so now we get a second year in the defense. We are probably going to draft a couple defenders to fortify that side of the ball. The defense was very solid when we were healthy. And even when they weren't as healthy, still was resilient. So now that there's some security there, because we've already lost a couple coordinators, had to bring a couple new coordinators in, having a little bit of stability, we keep the quarterback coach. Bevel gets to stay. Now we get Weaver to stay. So there's not complete wholesale changes. You do have a little bit of congruence around the coaching staff, which is fantastic. And now, usually when you implement, can't talk. I've been drinking cranberry juice. I don't drink alcohol, so cranberry juice. Anyway, when you implement a new system, typically the first year, there's a growing pain part of it where people are trying to learn what the system is. And then later they kind of figure it out. This happened in Baltimore. This happened with the Broncos this year. That happens sometimes. But now season two with the same system. Now people know terminology. And so now we can build on all the stuff that was previously instituted, right? And I think that's a big deal because it only gets better from here. That's the thing. It only gets better from here, and you just have to get the right personnel in there, right? Because every defense, there's 3-4 defenses, 4-3s, 5. There's a lot of different ways to do a formation, and it's not about whether a defense is better or worse. It's just about getting the right people in the defense. And so I think this year we built the defense initially to have 2 dominant edge rushers and then a rookie to rotate in there, and that didn't happen, so things had to be moved on the fly. I would love to see what his defense looks like next year, especially when the secondary, God willing, is a little bit more secure because I didn't love some leakage on the back end, but I'm happy Weaver's here. I'm happy he gets to stay, and I didn't want to lose more coaches. I'm just being honest. I hate losing coaches, especially to that situation, because as a person, I don't want Anthony Weaver to take that job because I don't think it's a winning situation. Shout out to Kellen Moore. I believe in 2 or 3 years he will be someone's coordinator because I don't think that job's going to work out. But we'll see. I could be wrong. And because we talked about the Super Bowl earlier, shout out to Philly and Vic Fangio, who just coached a defensive masterpiece up until the last 3 minutes of the game. I've never seen Mahomes look that befuddled. Never seen the Chiefs look that bad for such a long period of time. And he was our DC last year. And we didn't look like that. So I don't know. I thought maybe he lost some of his fastball. I guess I was wrong. Sorry, Vic. He still got it. But I want to take a brief look back at the Dolphins' history, especially with the Super Bowl. Right now, the Dolphins seem so far from the Super Bowl because we can't make the playoffs consistently or win a playoff game. And so the idea of Super Bowl seems like it's far away. And so for people who are close to my age, you probably were ingrained in Dolphins culture by your parents. And there's kind of this thing about the good old days in football. And so people don't remember if you were born in the late 80s, early 90s, that from 1971 to 1984, Miami was in the Super Bowl 5 different times, right? So 5 Super Bowls in 13 years is Patriots Mahomes has been in 5 and 7 years, so that's crazy. But Green Bay's had stats like that. The Broncos have done that before. That's a lot of Super Bowls. Washington, Pittsburgh. A couple teams have had that run where You're either the best team or the second best team consistently. And when you have that kind of level of winning, that's what kind of breeds a fan base, right? So we love the Mercury Morrises and the Larry Zonkas, and we talk about these kind of people from back in the day because that's what the bedrock of the team is. I mean, honestly, the 72 Dolphins are what like the pinnacle is because still no one's gone defeated since then, right? But the 73 team arguably was better. So when you win a couple championships and there's like a long gap between winning again, it feels like a long time since you won. But part of your history as a team that has such a rich history as the Dolphins do is you were built on winning. Like the Steelers won in those 70s, like 70s, maybe early 80s. I'm not sure when Bradshaw won his last championship. But then they didn't win a Super Bowl again until Big Ben. So let's say they won their last one in 79. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but I know they won four in like a 7 or 8 year span. And then they didn't win again until 2007. Is that right? Oh nine, something like it was a big gap of time. But Pittsburgh fans were terrible towels. We win shit. We won four. We had a mini dynasty. I'm like, yeah, dude, that was almost 30 years ago. And so teams like them can have a rich. Look at the Cowboys. They haven't won championships since '95, and Cowboy fans will still tell you to this day, 3 and 4 years. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's 30 years ago. Dolphins are again, our gap is bigger, but it's the same kind of idea that at one point, like the Dolphins, Washington, Pittsburgh, like those, and San Fran, of course. Those are like pinnacle level teams, and some of those teams have gotten back to prosperity. San Francisco's been to a few Super Bowls since then. Obviously, they've won with Steve Young as well. Miami hasn't gotten back to prominence. That's the difference, right? Like we haven't gotten back. I think Washington's last ship was in '91. So it's just been a long time since Miami's won again. But the history is the history. And just because things aren't good now, you got to think there are teams like Minnesota that haven't won. There's teams like Buffalo that haven't won. And so I know we're watching this on TV thinking, man, we could have had Jalen Hurts, who's a second round pick, or we could have drafted some of these players. I get there's some sadness attached to it when your team's not winning and then you see a team win. But just remember, we have a rich history and there's something to build on, and there will be brighter days to come, hopefully. But that will do it for today's episode. Sorry if I was a little off. I literally have been around people screaming and watching football for the last few hours, and it just got me thinking, man, I get to do like we're officially in the offseason now. And so now everything we talk about is going to be drafted next season, and just watching the game, it was got me thinking like, how close can Miami be to these two teams next year? That's all I was thinking, and it's a lot. But as always, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate the support. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.